What's up, guys? Steel Frodo here, and yes, I know we're late on Fire Force. I'm sorry. I was a little bogged down yesterday, and this is a different camera as well. I'm trying this out because this is going to be my next vlog camera, but if things look weird, just keep that in mind. Otherwise, we're in for a heck of an episode for Fire Force, so let's get started. So starting right out in this episode, we have quite an interesting sort of opening. We're introduced to several lieutenants as well as the commander or the captain of Fire Company 1. And we also see the amazing grand cathedral that they use in Fire Company 1. Now, we learned a few episodes back that Fire Company 1 is very church-influenced. They're the ones who actually tend to be more influenced by the church, whereas Company 5 was Hajima Industries, and 8 is essentially just there to investigate. So kind of neat, kind of interesting to see the big differences, because like I pointed out at one point, you still sort of have a cathedral look to Fire Company 5, but most of it is industrial. And then in this instance, it straight up looks like in Fire Company 1, a church. It's pretty wild. I also like that the last name of the fire captain for this company is Burns. It's funny to me. What isn't funny is how powerful this dude is, which we'll get more into later, but this dude is strong. Like, holy crap, is he tough. But that's for later. We're not going to talk about that yet. We're going to talk about everything leading up to that now. So, as we saw with last episode, everything that happened between Fire Company 5 and Fire Company 8 was played off as a training exercise, and so we now have the sort of wrap up with that where, hey, you know, it was all just training, so we're going to play it off like it is training. And yeah, that was sort of awkward for a lot of the Fire Company 5 guys who got their butts handed to them by, well, most of Company 8. It was also really funny to see how good Hinoa is at cooking and how bad one of the 119 characters was at cooking. He sucked at cooking, and Hinoa was insanely good at cooking. It was actually pretty funny to see how adept he was at cooking. So there's a new character trait I never really thought I would see out of a character like his. We also see Obi trying to talk with the rest of them, saying, congratulations, thanks, it was a great success on the training. And obviously there aren't a lot of people buying that because they are kind of bitter about the fact that they got annihilated by Company 8. You can see him up there sweating as he's talking, but it was pretty funny, and everybody just kind of walks away afterwards. But yeah, clearly most of, if not all of Company 5, except for Hibana, are not exactly fans of Company 8, especially after what happened last episode. We also have Hibana treating Shinra very well. Like she said last episode, she said, I think I'm taking a liking to you, and I guess so. That was kind of funny to see, actually, how much of a liking she seems to have taken to him in a way, and clearly still treats a lot of her underlings like gravel, except for Shinra, which is kind of funny. Obi even points out while they're talking that it seems like Shinra has become her hero as well as, a hero. He's slowly becoming more of a hero with each episode, which I do love that. I love the fact that he is living up to what he claimed he wanted to be. He wants to be a hero, and a lot of people who have now interacted with him are seeing him that way, and I actually like the fact that there is that level of consistency over and over with this character. It's pretty wild. Oh, also, the Fifth Angels 3, as I've been calling them, the Fire Force Charlie's Angels, they were admiring Maki and her ability to make the little sputter characters. And so was Iris, but Arthur, not so much. His job was to eliminate any of the little sputters that she created, which was so sad. Like, every time she creates them, she can't actually play with them because they just keep getting destroyed by Hinoa or one of the Infernals, or in this case, Arthur. Poor Sputters. Poor Maki. Best girl, by the way. Now, getting into the heavier stuff for this episode, one of the big things, of course, we know that Hibana, at least it seems like Hibana has discovered some of the secrets to human combustion, and it seems like someone is creating these Infernals artificially. And she said that she's noticed, there are some natural Infernals, but there are also ones, or at least it seems like there's natural Infernals, and then there's ones who stand out as different because they are in some way or another created artificially, which is kind of creepy and really not good at all. And this is also where we see the sort of struggle internally that Hibana's been having, and also how with what Shinra did, she sort of has made it come around and is sort of acting more befitting of somebody who isn't a complete and utter psychopath and a completely self-centered, arrogant person. She's definitely made a big change, and a lot of it was because of Shinra punching her in the face, even though she said gentle, which I thought was kind of funny. But her seething rage has not quite subsided with a lot of the stuff that happened with her family and a lot of the people she knew from the church, because when she brings up that she thinks it's artificial and she knows, or she doesn't have an idea of who, but she knows the area and they know that they're going after that person, she still has a very angry, dark, burn these people alive side, which is fitting. I mean, it makes sense because she's definitely not about that, and she lost a lot because of this artificial infernal creation. So yeah, I also like how her fire is, dangerous, but she still makes the flowers even when she creates fire, which is kind of cool, which means my guess was kind of right that a lot of her fire abilities kind of come from flower-based designs, or at least she seems to channel them that way. I don't know if that's naturally how they happen, but seems like it. Then we get a fanservice-y moment, because why not? But it kind of serves a purpose. Not really. Most of it is just straight up fan service. The only thing that serves the purpose was learning that Hibana is going to be sticking around with Fire Company 8 to help with the investigation. And yeah, other than that, it's just straight up fan service. I got nothing for it. Now, because a lot of the artificial infernals have been spawning near the Fire Company 1 area where their turf is, we have to now, I say we like I'm part of the show, the characters now have to find a way to get within that area and investigate further without seeming suspicious. And it seems like at the beginning of the episode, a lot of Company 1, including the captain and the main lieutenants, were all kind of aware that the combat training was a cover-up. And so, yeah, we've got now to figure out what's going on with Fire Company 1, even though it seems like they are mostly aware of what's going on in terms of what Obi's doing and how things are going to go. In fact, Captain Burns even says it seems like Obi's making his moves. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. But the way they get into that turf is with the recruit training program, I think is what it is. Something where essentially new recruits get put with other fire companies to expand their horizons, broaden their experience. And because of that, that means that by putting Fire Company 8 at the forefront of this, they can get the investigation done, but they use some of Company 1 or Company 5 and Company 2, I believe. They use two of them to get them in and make it seem like it's not this really bizarre sort of like, why does only Company 8 want to do this? So they make it seem a bit more natural. And once they get accepted and they head into the Fire Company 1 main cathedral, or I guess the main area where they're supposed to be, we learn some of the interesting quirks of a few of the lieutenants. What is his name? Flam. He repeats himself in very weird ways. At least it seems like he's repeating himself in weird ways. I don't know how that works or why he does it that way, but whatever. We learn that Hoshimiya is extremely energetic. He's very enthusiastic and enthusiastic is basically all that there is to be said about him. We didn't learn much about Ho Yun Lee, which I don't know anything really about him. We didn't learn anything about him, so I am still in the dark about him, but we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. This is the fire company that Tamaki's a part of, and we see a bit of her Lucky Licher lure in action at a certain point when she goes to run to the captain and jumps, and seems like she's going to land, and then we have her caught. He's so enthusiastic. I don't get it. Why are you so enthusiastic? What's wrong with you? Anyway, once they're accepted and they get introduced and they're working with the fire company, Shinra gets the brilliant idea to ask for a sparring match so that they all know what they're getting into. Sort of. One of them points out that they already kind of know what their abilities are because the abilities are listed on paper, but Captain Burns agrees to a sparring match and we get to see a lot of the fighting. We don't see a ton of it, but we see the interesting ones. We get introduced to a character who's called Juggernaut. He is afraid of fire, and every time he gets riled up, he creates these fire bullets, basically. And as a result, he's extraordinarily powerful. And we see two of the lieutenants actually fighting him. One of them just kind of jumps around, and the other one absorbs the fire and turns it into ice. He doesn't convert it to ice with any sort of special ability, but he uses some sort of harmonic ability to change the temperature of the fire from hot to cold, and it's actually a pretty interesting technique. I was kind of confused at how it worked at first, and then when he explained it, it was like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of interesting. I like that new sort of little bit of world building that they've thrown in there now. Juggernaut also seems to have the hots for Tamaki. Okay. The combustible bubblegum guy doesn't want to fight, and then Lee doesn't want to fight either, so at that point it's up to Arthur and Shinra versus the fire captain himself. And, well, I have no idea what this dude's abilities are, but he is quite a force to be reckoned with. And I say that for two reasons. Number one, we know how powerful Arthur's sword is. He can cut through metal, he can cut through infernals, he can cut through anything with that blade, except for Captain Burns' bare hand. And he can put the flame out, and he knocks Arthur back. Like, that's insane. Then it's Shinra's turn, and Shinra actually goes after him with all he's got. He goes after him so hard. And even the other even the other lieutenants point out how powerful Shinra is. He's like, wow, he's actually got a good bit of power to him. And he's still taken out in one burst by the captain. And like, Shinra lays it on him so hard with everything he has, and one shot takes him out. That is insane. I don't know what his abilities are, but Captain Burns is psycho powerful. Now, by the end of this episode, we have sort of a wrap-up with the introduction of some new characters from Fire Company 1. Now that we're done with Fire Company 5, we have the sort of lead-up now where we're going to have to deal with Shinra and Arthur and the others being a part of Company 1 for a little while. And I really don't know where it's going to go from here. There wasn't a whole lot of, like, underlying plot that I could make up out of this. Not make up, but nothing I could really make out of this that would be a long-standing change or anything that would be really dramatic or build up to the future. The only lead-up thing that we have to look forward to is figuring out who in Company 1 is creating these infernals, and that's just sort of a ride that we're along for. And I want to actually know who. The one dude with the sort of shadows on his face at the very beginning, Lee, he's sort of questionable, but the thing is I don't know how long he's been a part of Fire Company 1, and we know how long ago the incident with Shinra happened, so I don't know what exactly will be the instance that would happen. I don't know what happens. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know, and I want to know, but we didn't get enough information to really get anything out of this, so we'll just have to wait and see. Otherwise, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fire Force. There really wasn't a whole lot other than some world building and some plot points here and there to set up for some lead-ins, but otherwise, we'll just have to wait till next week to see how Shinra and Arthur hold up in Fire Company 1, to see what they discover, to see what kind of artificial infernal information we've got from Hibana, what information in general we have from Hibana. Like, we have a whole other asset now because we have Hibana working with Fire Company 8. So that'll be interesting. But otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to check out the last video, you can go ahead and check it up there. And yeah, apart from that, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Make sure to be there and have a good one.